Hello. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the launch for the Dark Library. I just want to start by acknowledging that Coach House, where this book was produced, is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Wendat, and is currently home to many diverse First Nations. Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So my name is Alana Wilcox. I'm with Coach House Books, and I'll be your host for the afternoon or evening or morning or wherever it is, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. And before we get started, I just also want to thank the government of France via the consulate here in Toronto for supporting the translation of this book through the Paris Fellowship. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And a special thanks to Marie-Laurence de Rocher-Lugo for your support and enthusiasm of the work that we've been doing. So if you're here, then I'm guessing that there's a pretty good chance that you think that books are kind of magic and that they speak to us. In the Dark Library, they really do speak to us. And you probably think libraries are special places. In the Dark Library, they're really special places. So if you ever wondered what a library does when you're not there, or if you wonder why libraries are important, the Dark Library is a book for you. So here to read from it, we have the author, Cyril Martinez, and the translator, Joseph Patrick Stancil. And they're going to alternate back and forth reading English and French. And then we're going to have a little Q&A. So if you want to throw any questions you might have in the Q&A section or in the chat, we'll try to get to those. If you want to, we have closed captioning available. So if you click the little closed caption button at the bottom, you can follow along that way if that's helpful to you. Yeah, so let's just get started. So first reading, we're going to have Patrick. So Joseph Patrick Stancil has studied French and translation at UNC Chapel Hill and New York University. He also translated Cyril Martinez's The Sleepworker for Coach House Books. He currently lives in Seattle, Washington. And he's going to be followed right up by the author himself. Cyril Martinez is a novelist and poet. He lives in Paris, where he is a librarian of French and comparative literature at the Sorbonne. He has published 7 books, some of which have been adapted for theater, and has done a number of readings in France and abroad. The Dark Library is his 2nd book translated into English. And thank you especially to him for braving a conversation in English. So thank you. And Patrick, if you want to get started, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Alana. All right, so we're going to read 3 passages here. So I'm going to start with the first one in English, and then, as Alana said, Cyril's going to follow up in French. There once was a time when the reading room was noisy, the library sonorous. Reading was done aloud, recited. Texts were read, played out, performed. The reader-performers vied to be the most clever at engaging an audience. The library was frequented for both reading and listening to reading, where the text is revealed during a reading done out loud. But it was also frequented just to pass the time. It was known that one could find friends here, meet people. It was a living space, where it was nice to socialize. While the readers worked, the non-readers talked, shouted, cursed each other. If things needed to come to blows, they came to blows. The monk in charge of the room surveillance let it happen. In the absence of internal regulations on which to rely, he did not feel entitled to intervene. He read in his corner. At that time, the readers in the books were accustomed to the agitation and noise, when, one day, a big voice thundered, "Quiet! Who's talking? It's the book. It's expressing its anger. I am the book. I am the one you study. I am here to inform you. My study requires silence. You are asked to read in your heads. Here, you will no longer perform. Here, you will stay quiet. At the library, from now on, you will read in silence. Keep quiet. Heed my words." As the book's words resonated throughout the reading room, silence fell. It fell abruptly, and from what I know, no one has ever lifted it. The walls would have trembled. Personally, I have a little trouble believing that the walls really trembled. It is, however, very likely that the monk had indeed been terrified by this call to order. It was his master who spoke. Because the book was his master, the voice of his master, the instrument of communication with him, the man upstairs, he who sits atop the hierarchy of gods and men. For fear of punishment, the readers present in the room hunched their shoulders and plunged into the text, of which there were fortunately multiple copies. From that day on, the monk kept a close watch on reading behavior. The readers had to comply with extremely strict rules of conduct. Eyes on the page and the tongue mute. The left hand stabilizes the book while the right is tasked with turning the pages. Read in silence, potentially in a hushed voice. The text may be muttered aloud in order to better memorize it, but without turning away from study of the sacred object. It is forbidden to chat, forbidden to do anything, reading mandatory. Following the book's example, the other documents requested and were easily granted to also be read in silence. Even if some of them did not merit such consideration, no one would have taken the risk of going against the will of the book. Its anger had been burned into their minds. Silent reading was adopted, and calm and silence became part of the common good, imposed on readers in all libraries. As elements of heritage, everything in the library should be preserved for the benefit of all. That's why, in moving, the library not only transferred its physical collections, but also brought along its silence. Like the books that were organized in the new stacks, this ancient silence of great quality had also been placed in the new premises, so that the new reading room benefited right from its opening from a fabulous silence, the second part of the treasure. Henceforth, one section of the rules forbids conversations and ringtones. The new reading room tolerates the rustling of a page, computer and office noises, the beep of a scanner deciphering a barcode. That's fine. The rolling of a cart transporting books still passes. In a pinch, documents falling on the carpet, the pipes, the hum of the air conditioning, we have no choice, and clicks are allowed. However, as for the rest, the rule is the following, a simple rule, 2 words that everyone can understand. Quiet, library. And now I think Cyril, there we go.
Yes. Il fut un temps où la salle était bruyante, la bibliothèque sonore. On pratiquait la lecture à voix haute, on déclamait. Les textes étaient lus, joués, performés. Les lecteurs-performeurs rivalisaient d'ingéniosité pour s'attacher à un auditoire. On fréquentait la bibliothèque à la fois pour lire et pour écouter lire, afin que le texte nous soit révélé lors d'une lecture à voix haute. Mais tout aussi bien, y venait-on pour passer le temps. On savait qu'ici, on trouverait des amis, on ferait des rencontres. C'était un lieu de vie, il était agréable de s'y sociabiliser. Pendant que les lecteurs travaillaient, les non-lecteurs bavardaient, s'apostrophaient, s'invectivaient. S'il fallait en venir aux mains, ils en venaient aux mains. Le moine, en charge de la surveillance de la salle, laissait faire. Faute de règlement intérieur sur lequel s'appuyer, il ne se sentait pas habilité d'intervenir. Il s'instruisait dans son coin. À cette époque, les lecteurs et les livres s'accommodaient de l'agitation et du bruit. Quand, un beau jour, une grosse voix a tonné. « Silence !» Qui parle ? C'est le livre. Il exprime sa colère. « Je suis le livre, je suis celui qu'on étudie, je suis ici pour vous instruire. Mon étude requiert le silence. Vous êtes priés de lire dans vos têtes. Ici, on ne déclamera pas. Ici, maintenant, on se tait. À la bibliothèque, à présent, vous lirez en silence. Taisez-vous, recevez ma parole. » Lorsque la voix du livre a résonné dans la salle de lecture, le silence s'est fait. Il est tombé brusquement. Et d'après ce que je sais, personne ne l'a ramené. Les murs en auraient tremblé. Personnellement, j'ai un peu de mal à croire que les murs aient réellement tremblé. Il est en revanche très probable que le moine ait en effet été terrifié par ce rappel à l'ordre. C'était son maître qui parlait, car le livre était son maître, la voix de son maître, l'instrument de communication avec lui, le gars, tout là-haut, celui qui est trôné au sommet de la hiérarchie des hommes et des dieux. Par peur de subir un châtiment, les lecteurs présents dans la salle ont rentré les épaules et se sont plongés dans le texte, qu'on possédait heureusement en de multiples exemplaires. À côté de ce jour, le moine a surveillé les manières de lire. Le lecteur devait se plier à des règles de conduite extrêmement strictes. les yeux sur la page et la langue muette. La main gauche stabilise l'ouvrage, tandis que la droite est chargée de tourner les pages. Lecture en silence, éventuellement à voix basse. Possibilité de murmurer le texte afin de mieux le mémoriser, mais sans se détourner de l'étude de l'objet sacré. Interdit de bavarder, interdit de rien faire, lecture obligatoire. Suivant l'exemple du livre, les autres imprimés ont demandé, et obtenu sans peine, d'être eux aussi lus en silence. Même si certains ne méritaient pas tant d'égards, personne n'aurait pris le risque d'aller contre la volonté du livre. Sa colère avait marqué les esprits. La lecture silencieuse a été adoptée. Le calme et le silence sont devenus des biens communs. Ils se sont imposés auprès des lecteurs de toutes les bibliothèques. Comme élément du patrimoine, il convient de préserver, dans l'intérêt de chacun. C'est pourquoi, en déménageant la bibliothèque, n'a pas seulement transféré ses collections physiques, elle a également emporté son silence. Comme on a installé les livres dans les nouveaux magasins, on a placé ce silence très ancien et de très grande qualité dans les nouveaux locaux. De sorte que la nouvelle salle de lecture a bénéficié dès son ouverture d'un silence fabuleux, la deuxième partie du trésor. Dorénavant, un point du règlement interdit les conversations et les sonneries. La nouvelle salle de lecture tolère le froissement d'une page, les bruits informatiques et bureautiques, le bip d'une douchette déchiffrant un code barre, ça va, le roulement du chariot transportant des ouvrages passe encore, à la rigueur des documents qui tombent sur la moquette, la tuyauterie, le souffle de l'air conditionné, on n'a pas le choix, et les clics sont admis. En revanche, pour le reste, la règle est la suivante. Une règle simple, 2 mots que tout le monde peut comprendre. Silence, bibliothèque.
At the edge of the room, I see a forest. Moving forward, I make out pines, birches, cherry trees, black elderberries, poplars, and oaks. A bay window stops my progress. Looking down, I see heather and ferns. I've reached the far end of the reading room. I am at the border. I am before the garden forest, which, if you believe the label, makes up the heart of the building. They planted a forest in the middle of the library. Funny idea. If I'd had a say in the matter, I would have done the opposite, a library in the heart of a forest. One would first follow a stream across the heath, entering into a pine forest where a sandy path would lead, after a half hour of walking, to a clearing where readers lounging in the grass are reading ripe books fallen from trees. The garden forest belongs to various species of animals who have temporarily settled there. The label indicates that rabbits and sparrowhawks find it a welcoming environment. But never will you see readers with their feet in the grass, climbing trees, tasting the fruits they've picked. Here, the door windows are locked. Access to the garden is forbidden to humans. Poised on a branch, a sparrowhawk opens its beak and sings. Despite all its efforts, its song remains silent, the double pane glass preventing it from reaching me. The animals are decorative for the readers. In the presence of the readers, it's incongruous from the animal's point of view. The sparrowhawk doesn't care. He continues to sing, reading his beak-like lips. I decipher the lyrics. What a crazy idea to have built a library around my forest. I head deeper into the distant regions, making my way between the shelves. I discover islets, tunnels, and caves. I cross the region of directories. I travel among the phone books and bibliographies. In the land of specialized encyclopedias, I see an opening between religions and social sciences, and I slip into an aisle that leads me to a clear space beneath the skylight. There is a workspace here, with 2 spots facing one another, 2 unoccupied spots. I set my bag down on the first. Sighing, I take off my jacket. I found a good spot. It is as bright and quiet as I had imagined it. I pull out the chair and sit down.
Au bout de la salle, j'aperçois une forêt. En avançant, je distingue des pins, des bouleaux, des merisiers, des sureaux noirs, des peupliers et des chênes. Une baie vitrée arrête ma progression. En baissant les yeux, je vois des bruyères, des fougères. Je suis parvenu tout au bout de la salle de la lecture. Je suis à la frontière. Je suis devant le jardin-forêt qui, si l'on en croit le cartel, constitue le cœur du bâtiment. On a planté une forêt au milieu de la bibliothèque. Drôle d'idée. Si j'avais eu mon mot à dire, j'aurais fait l'inverse. Une bibliothèque au cœur d'une forêt. On suivrait d'abord un ruisseau qui traverserait la lande. On entrerait dans une forêt de pins où un sentier sablonneux nous conduirait, au bout d'une demi-heure de marche, à une clairière où des lecteurs allongés dans l'herbe liraient les livres mûrs tombés des arbres. Le jardin-forêt appartient aux différentes espèces animales qui s'y installent provisoirement. Le cartel précise que lapins et éperviers trouvent ici un environnement accueillant. Mais jamais vous n'y verrez de lecteurs les pieds dans l'herbe, grimpant aux arbres, goûtant aux fruits qu'ils auraient cueillis. Ici, les portes-fenêtres sont verrouillées. L'accès au jardin est interdit aux humains. Posé sur une branche, un épervier ouvre le bec et chante. Malgré tous ses efforts, son chant reste muet. Le double vitrage l'empêche de venir jusqu'à moi. Les animaux sont décoratifs pour les lecteurs, et la présence de lecteurs est incongrue du point de vue des animaux. L'épervier s'en moque. Il continue de chanter. Lisant sur son bec comme on le fait sur des lèvres, je déchiffre les paroles. Drôle d'idée d'avoir construit une bibliothèque autour de ma forêt. Je m'enfonce dans les régions lointaines, je me ferai un passage entre les rayonnages, je découvre des îlots, des tunnels et des grottes, je traverse la région des annuaires, je voyage parmi les répertoires et les bibliographies papier. Dans la région des encyclopédies spécialisées, j'entrevois une ouverture entre les religions et les sciences sociales. Je me faufile dans une allée qui me conduit à un espace clair, sous un puits de lumière. Il y a ici un espace de travail, avec 2 places en vis-à-vis, 2 espaces inoccupés. Je pose mon sac sur le premier, j'enlève mon blouson en soufflant. J'ai trouvé une bonne place. Elle est aussi paisible et lumineuse que je l'avais imaginée. Je tire ma chaise et m'assois.
Do not trust the calm and intimate atmosphere. Fear reigns over the library, not so much among the staff, who might have feared a degradation in their working conditions, but in the books, who fear the future. Many of them express their feelings of insecurity through terrifying stories in which the readers are afflicted by a strange evil, which turns them away from books. The question of whether they'll have readers is a reoccurring fear among the young books. But what was until now an unsubstantiated anxiety, today becomes anguish, completely justified anguish. The young books fear being moved far from their potential readers, to the third basement level or even the warehouses. They are afraid that after discreetly being taken far away, they will be done away with, assassinated. The moment has come to fight for the cause of books, and the oldies and classics cannot really be counted on. They have done their time, they have received gratification and honors, and the majority know that no matter what happens, they will continue to be studied. They don't understand our anxieties and fears, but you, a reader, you must be capable of understanding the situation. Support our cause. Join the fight now. Read me. When the Great Library opened, there was still something to be optimistic about. The books were happy to be in a new and functional locale. The atmosphere was good, the light relaxing, the furniture comfy. The readers appreciated being in a more comfortable reading room, more spacious and better equipped than the old one. Books and readers were living in perfect harmony. The books found an interested audience rather easily, and audiences effortlessly found books responding to their needs. The librarians were convinced that books and readers were unable to live without one another, their destinies intertwined. In the mind of a reader, reading invariably meant reading a book. As a result, they considered themselves indispensable to readers. Survival of both species seemed assured. I am a book, you are a reader. Let us love, let us unite, let us reproduce. Let us live in joy and peace. Yet, after a few idyllic months, the situation deteriorated.
Ne pas se fier au calme et à l'ambiance feutrée. La peur règne sur la bibliothèque. pas tellement chez les personnels, qui auraient pu redouter une dégradation de leurs conditions de travail, mais dans les livres, qui ont peur de l'avenir. Nombre d'entre eux expriment leur sentiment d'insécurité à travers des récits terrifiants dans lesquels les lecteurs sont frappés d'un mal étrange qui les détourne des livres. La question de savoir si on aura des lecteurs est une crainte récurrente chez les jeunes livres. Mais ce qui n'était jusqu'alors qu'une inquiétude, pas toujours fondée, devient aujourd'hui une angoisse pleinement justifiée. Les jeunes livres craignent d'être relégués loin de leurs lecteurs potentiels, au troisième sous-sol, ou bien dans les silos. Ils ont peur qu'après les avoir éloignés discrètement, on les fasse disparaître, on les assassine. Le moment est venu de se battre pour la cause des livres. On ne peut pas vraiment compter sur le soutien des anciens et des classiques. Ils ont fait leur temps. Ils ont reçu gratification et honneur. La plupart savent que quoi qu'il arrive, ils continueront d'être étudiés. Nos angoisses et nos craintes, ils ne les comprennent pas. Mais toi, qui es un lecteur, tu dois être capable de comprendre la situation. Soutiens notre cause. Participe au combat maintenant. Lis-moi. Quand la grande bibliothèque a ouvert, il y avait pourtant de quoi se montrer optimiste. Les livres étaient heureux de se retrouver dans les locaux neufs et fonctionnels. L'atmosphère était saine, la lumière reposante, le mobilier caressant. Les lecteurs appréciaient de se retrouver dans une salle de lecture plus confortable, plus spacieuse et mieux équipée que l'ancienne. Livres et lecteurs étaient partis pour vivre en parfaite harmonie. Les livres trouvaient assez facilement un public intéressant et les publics trouvaient sans peine les livres répondant à leurs attentes. Les bibliothécaires étaient convaincus que livres et lecteurs étaient incapables de vivre l'un sans l'autre, qu'ils avaient destin lié. Dans la tête d'un lecteur, lire voulait forcément dire lire un livre. Par conséquent, ceux-ci se considéraient comme indispensables au lecteur. La survie des deux espèces semble assurée. Je suis un livre, tu es un lecteur. Aimons-nous, unissons-nous, reproduisons-nous, vivons dans la joie et dans la paix. Pourtant, après quelques mois idylliques, la situation s'est dégradée.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to hear the two languages side by side with the same passages. Thank you so much for the readings. A reminder to our audience that you're welcome to send along any questions that you might have for either our author or our translator. And I would like to ask, Cyrille, can you tell us a little bit about the library where you work?
I work in library in university in Sorbonne since 3 years, but I talk about a library where I worked. It was a library in social sciences, and there was many problems in this library. Problem in this book because there were a new politic, a new way of thinking the library only on numeric books, and yeah, that was a problem because once there was a problem with electric problem, there was no
ebooks.
no books, so the library was empty. There was nothing to read. It was comic.
I thought in your book that that it was a satire, the idea of a library that was just ebooks. I didn't think that was something that had really happened. That's sort of terrifying to me.
Oh, it's difficult to think a library today, with all numerics, because in the ancient time, the collection, the book collection of book, were the heart of the library. But now with iPhone and so, the information comes outside the library, so we have to rethink our our work, library. Yeah.
I mean, I certainly feel it when I go into libraries here and everybody's on their phone or their laptop and not reading a book, and they're drinking a coffee and not really engaging with the collection. So it was interesting to see you thinking about that in the book.
Yeah, because you know now we don't. It's the new way of library is the third place. You know this concept of third place, and third place is space of leisure or leisure of. So it's not a library. In England, I know in some place they don't want to mention library in front of the building because
Really?
library, yeah, they say that it can frighten people. You know, it's very strange.
How can you be scared of a library? To me, the library is the safest, happiest place in the world.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Patrick, you had to learn some new vocabulary, I think, in this translation, the library vocabulary. How was this different from the last book of Cyril's that you translated, which was called The Sleepwalker and is about Andy Warhol and John Giorno? Very different subject matter.
Very different. As you say, there's a lot more technical vocabulary in this book, which involved a lot more research and learning. You know, granted, I'm not a librarian, so didn't know this, didn't have this vocabulary offhand. So it involved a lot of reading and a lot of internet wormholes, and on American or Canadian and even French library websites, just to learn the correct terminology for how to refer to warehouses or just various parts of library, cataloging, etc. Yeah.
Interesting education.
Yeah.
And most importantly, did you do the translation work in a library?
No, I did most of it in my my 200 square foot Manhattan studio.
And Cyrille, did you write the book in the library? I mean, were you supposed to be working and you were working on this book? Okay.
Yeah. So you were the red librarian.
It's the best place for writing library. I like to write in the library. Yeah, in a reading group. It's quiet. Yeah.
And are the characters? Is the red librarian someone that you know?
Oh no. It's a joke about the neutral librarian. You know, when you are a librarian, everybody say you must be neutral, and it doesn't exist. It's you have to make choice book also. So I put them colors, like a character, so red and yellow and.
I love it. Now when I go to my local library, I imagine them all in different colors, the staff there. And the angry young book, which is one of my favorite characters in the novel, is that, were you thinking of a specific book with that character, or it's an amalgamation?
There's somebody missing in the book. It's the author. There's no author. So the book is the author, and the angry young book it's me. It's my voice. It's my voice.
I figured. In the chat we have, it is true, most of my poetry comes to me via Kindle, so very portable. I've spent most of my life lugging books, do not regret it, but it is a relief. What I miss, though, is the serendipity of exploring a library's shelves. I think that's happened to all of us. You go looking for one thing and you find something that changes your life. Yeah.
Serendipity, yes, very important.
Yeah.
I think that's actually how I discovered Cyrille the first time around. So I translated The Sleepwalker, Cyrille's other book that's been published in English. And when I was in grad school, we had to do a thesis project, which is the translation of a book. And that's how I found your book the first time around, was just wandering around the library. And then I found it and fell in love. And here we are 6 years later, 7 years later.
I don't think I knew that. I didn't realize that's how you came to the book. It's total serendipity. I love it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a great story. That's funny. Well, what do you think, Patrick? What do you think that Cyrille should write next? He's covered Andy Warhol. He's covered music, now libraries. What next?
Oh God.
Don't say the pandemic.
Yeah, I know. It's like, is that what you've actually been working on this whole time? No, Cyril told us before we logged on, everyone else logged on, that he's been writing this whole time. So I don't know. You have music, libraries, Andy Warhol. You've covered art. Is there a sports satire, athletic satire next?
I write a book about a marathon. You know, marathon.
Yeah.
Like running. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a runner.
Hey.
Yeah. And all my family are runner.
So you're both runners. I love that.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we had a question for Patrick. How do you keep up your French skills in between books?
I like to just keep reading a lot of French and consume French films, TV shows. Unfortunately, I used to keep in touch a little more with French professors and French friends, but haven't as much in recent years. But I do like to hone my comprehension abilities by just reading a lot of French books and watching TV shows.
So you turn the dubbing off on Netflix.
What was that?
So you turn the dubbing off on Netflix.
I try most of the time. I try. Actually, I think that's across the board for learning languages in general. Is if you to watch a foreign film, even with subtitles in your native language, is a good way to hone up on your language skills. I used to be an English tutor for high school students in France, in Paris, for a semester, and that's how several of them learned English, was just watching How I Met Your Mother with subtitles.
It's a distorted view of we had another question for Patrick. In translating The Dark Library, did you do all the research before starting or as you went along?
As I went along. So I read the book through I think about 2 times, and then I usually start from start to finish, and then I'll make notes for myself for things to return to work on. If I haven't quite gotten the English right, or if I know that's not correct, I'll make a note for myself to return to it, because that could be something that comes up throughout the novel, and then I'll go back and address and fill in the blanks.
Yeah, and I think some of the library technology, or terminology, even at the end, editing, we were still looking at some of that, making sure it was correct. Yeah. Someone is asking if you can recommend some good French TV shows. Either of you.
Yeah, Cyril.
I don't know.
No TV shows.
No. I'll actually, that's my friend Tanya. I'll talk to her later and I'll give her a list.
Okay, great. One of the things I love about this book is that you're talking about really important subjects, right? The importance of knowledge and expertise and wisdom in a moment where those things are devalued in our culture, but you're doing it in a way that is it's not heavy-handed, it's not didactic, you're using your imagination and some satire in a way, and playfulness to explore these ideas. Is that sort of, I don't know if you, in French, if you have the expression, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Is that what you were thinking as you were writing the book?
I don't understand all of this. Patrick, could you help me, please?
I think I also got a little.
Well, just saying that the subjects of the book, the idea of knowledge, that knowledge is important and it needs to be accessible to everyone, and that's what libraries are for. But instead of just being really blunt about that, you are using a kind of playful language and satire to show us that. And is that an intent? Is that intentional?
Yes, yes. When I work in this library of social sciences and humanity, we have a book of all subject, and so it was like a play, like a game for us, you know, like a game. I want to translate this way of think the knowledge. The knowledge is important, but it's always a kind of game. It's not. I don't know how to say in English, but I'm not a scientist, you know. I'm a writer, and that's my way of my expression. I don't know.
Yeah, imagination makes everything better, you know.
Yeah.
What did you have at that library? Did you have a favorite patron, like a customer who came in? Was there one person that, like the historian in the dark library?
Oh, in the book,
in real life, you know, is there someone like the historian in real life?
Oh yes, the historian. I know this man. It's a real man. Yeah. So he was an incredible man. Yeah. We have a big library at home. Only in history, that's the story that I in the book is real. Is real. Is a real story. The historian is real. And
For those of you who haven't read it yet, the historian is knows maybe everything there is to know about history, and it's a voracious reader, and something bad happens to him.
Yes. He was he wrote about global history. It's global history, and in his house he had 20,000 books. Yeah. Every book was note, you know.
Wow.
Incredible. Yeah, you haven't seen that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So we have another comment. Your characterization of the book is brilliant and so multi-layered. You celebrate and honor the physical presence and living relevance of books. So gracefully and metaphorically, you articulate many contemporary worries in my heart, head, and poetic pages. Thank you. I must have a copy. So that's a very lovely compliment.
Thank you.
And if we don't have any other questions, I feel like we're torturing poor Cyrille in English. So maybe we can leave it there. I encourage you all to buy a copy. You can get one off our website or at your local bookstore or even at the library. Does Patrick, do you have any last words, or Cyrille, any last words that you wanted to add?
No, just thanks for attending, everyone, and thanks Coach House Books for making this book possible.
Well, thanks to you for your incredible translation, and thanks to Cyrille for writing this book that we love so much.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alana. Thank you very much.
It's our honor. It's our honor. So thanks to everybody for attending this afternoon, and we'll let you get back to your day. Thanks again, and all the best.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.